I have a strong feeling about hawks, a love for them. I just have waves of pleasure run through me when I watch a hawk. It can just be standing there, or it can be just circling around, or what have you.
Good. So the question is, do I have this strong feeling about a hawk because I had some sort of significant interaction with a hawk when I was a child? Was I a hawk in a past life? or might it be that I, a freedom-seeking being in my now, am resonating with the pure vibration of freedom that this hawk is feeling as he is soaring? Why does everything have to be about another time? Why can you not acknowledge that it is about now? That everything you are feeling is about how you are flowing your energy now. So as you see this hawk, as you watch it in its freedom, as you watch its power and its strength and its agility, its vitality, its basking in the deliciousness of the freedom that it knows, as you are watching it as an example of all things that you too are in that moment, is it not logical that you would feel as it feels?
Okay, then let me carry it on to the next step. I have an appreciation for all birds, unless they're in my garden, that kind of thing. Or if they're eating my chickens, I don't even like hawks at that time. So I solve all that.
So intentions
They vary a little. They vary a little. I have this. Yeah, right. All right. And so then certain birds really reach me. And because they reach me, I attract them to me, and they're up around me a lot. And so what's happened in the last week or so, of some of those little house wrens that I've been around for the last couple of years have built their nest right up in a hanging fern that's hanging from a chain as you go out the front door, so you could reach your hand out and take the eggs out of it practically as you went out of the door. And I'll make a long story really short here, other than the other morning I was looking out the window, and the little male, although the nest was built, it was like he was still building nests, because he was just going crazy. And he came up to the window, and I said, he's trying to talk to me. He was fluttering and had his beak hitting against the front window, and Esther and I are looking out, and Esther said to him with her humor, "Does the word cat mean anything to you?" Because he was flying really low, and he was down too low, and he was all around, and he was like he just wasn't, didn't look like he was connected in the moment. And, well, as it turned out, I guess the cat had already eaten the little mother bird, because there was a lot of blood out there, and then later the cat got him too, while he was concerned about the mother bird, and so this just leaves a nest with 8 little eggs in, and I don't know how to sit them, and so not much upsets me. I'm really hard to disturb, but I pretty much grieved the whole day until we got away from there. As a matter of fact, I'm going to move the fern and everything away when we get back, because I don't even want to look at it. Okay, now, so here's what I want to know. How can I reach the stage in the now that I can look at something that I adore, like those little birds, and Party Cat doesn't know he's done anything wrong. I mean, when I went out afterward, every time I walk out, he just lays over on his back with his feet all up in the air, like, touch my belly, you know. He doesn't know how I'm feeling, or doesn't care how I'm feeling inside. And he lays right by the blood, right by the kill. You know, he spent the whole day there. He normally goes all around, but he spent the day right there. I mean, there's something going on in our life. Earlier that morning on television, they showed a Tasmanian devil from Tasmania, and this guy had it in his hands, and he said, its jaws are so powerful it eats everything, skin, bones, everything's gone when it's done. And I said, we have our own Party Cat. This is before it happened. And right after it happened in the mail, someone sent us a Fartside cartoon with these dogs with their hands trying to hide their face because they've been arrested, and the newscaster had his mic, and he says, the notorious chicken coop gang, and what a carnage in the chicken house, and there's blood and feathers and stuff all around. I thought, what a synchronistic line of events, none of them bringing me much fun. How do I get to the point, how do any of us get to the point, the reason I'm bringing this, I think we all reach these stages of something that we would like to feel good about, even though it's just not making us feel good, and we haven't found a way to feel good about it because of just the way things are rolling. It's natural for the cat to do that. You know what I'm saying?
We do indeed.
So I can't fault the cat. So
But you do.
Well, I'm not going to have a cat around when we move to the new house, because I told Esther the other day, I says, so maybe I'll just bring a dog that eats cats, and you can bring your cat that eats birds. And then, I love this. We're getting a real visceral reaction with this. But anyway, would you clarify this? How we can all be happy through all of this. Thank you. Oh, and I need to put it.
You can see why you need Abraham.
Thank you.
It is an issue we touched on yesterday a bit, isn't it? Part of the impact, the emotional impact of all of this, is that you and your little bird mate are building a nest too. You are having the fun of taking your sticks and carrying them to your nesting site. And while there is much joy in the becoming of this wonderful home, there is also a tremendous amount of pleasure that you are launching into your future. In other words, with everything that you are doing today, you are imagining the deliciousness of being there, of living there, of looking out of the windows, of walking and sitting in this room, of sitting on the porch in this room and basking in the sun in this room. In other words, there is a lot of anticipation about that which is to come. So much so that most physical beings do not really know how to live in the now. As you were watching your hawk soaring, the tremendous elation that you feel is because both of you are doing the same thing right then and there. You are living in the now. He is doing his soaring and you are doing your observing, but it is a moment of empowerment because you are living in the now. It is one of those brief moments when you are not regretting the past or worrying about the future, or trying to have all of the future so well defined that you feel secure, that you know every particle of it will unfold. In other words, you are living in the now, which is where all of your power is. So as you look at your little birds as they are living in the now, and you live as they are, joyful in the now, we promise you that those little birds were not worried about the future. They are all wanting to preserve physical life, because physical life is sought after. That is something that everyone has an inherent wanting. You are wanting to live. Your strongest instinct is to do whatever it takes to remain in this physical body, because everything that you know tells you that this physical body is the delight of the universe. It is the deliciousness of all deliciousness to be physically focused and non-physically connected. And that is why all beasts have within them, you included, a very strong desire of preservation. But the difference between the beasts and the human beast is that the beast does not worry about the future. And in the moment that the lion has the rabbit in his jaws, the rabbit does not struggle in regret that he will not live, but he relaxes into the agreement between himself and the lion. In other words, he knew when he came forth that this was part of the process, as you knew when you came forth that you would not remain in these physical bodies forevermore. From your non-physical perspective, you intended with everything that you are and know to come forth into these physical bodies and to live wholeheartedly in the now. You never ever intended to let the now be so weak that you spend all of your time looking back or wanting for something more. You intended to live in the now. And that is what all of these creatures are bringing to you. They are bringing to you examples of the exhilaration of life in the now. And we promise you that there is not regret on the part of any of them.
Right.
For they are all knowing their perfection in the now. We saw you. We've been watching you with these little birds. And while you are understanding your point of attraction, we will bring this group of friends up to date here. Not long ago, Jerry is sitting at his desk. He has a beautiful desk that looks out across a beautiful porch, out into a beautiful yard. And he is noticing these beautiful little warblers. This day, he is in the ivy. And as Jerry is looking out, he says, "Esther, come here and look." And as Esther came here to look, in that moment, party cat is sitting there, and Esther is looking at the cat and looking at the bird and thinking, this does not feel like what I'm wanting it to be. And at that moment, the bird flew into the bird bath. Party cat leaped from the porch, grabbed the bird with one hand, and knocked it to the ground. Esther went out the door, leaped over the banister, and took the bird right away from the cat. And held the bird. The bird did not like Esther any more than he liked the cat. As he pecked very hard at Esther's fingers, saying, let me go, let me go, let me go. And once Esther saw that the cat was out of range, she opened her hands and the bird flew away. This is the same bird that you are talking about.
I know.
And so now you have established an agreement with this bird. In other words, you have made yourselves a sort of intervener, a sort of watchdog, which is quite a responsibility, because that means that you must either contain the bird or the cat,
right,
or you must sit there at all times ready for intervention. In other words, it is the way most physical beings live their life with their children, too, and with their neighbors, too, even neighbors of other countries. In other words, you are such interveners because you are not trusting in their ability to live as they are supposed to live. In other words, you really believe that it is up to you to make the decisions about how all things unfold. As you have more and more of these experiences where you begin to recognize that not only are you able to intervene, but you are not even able to make appropriate decisions on the behalf of any other, then you become more and more willing to allow them to live as they are wanting to live. So much so that those little birds attracted your attention once again at a time when you were not giving the instinct from your inner being to intervene, because the greater message for you is that you are not to intervene, you are not to control or orchestrate on behalf of anyone in the universe. You are to live in your now and allow all others to do the same, and to understand that what they are doing is appropriate for them. And as you have these experiences, you become more inner being-like, in that you revel in whatever they are living, and you look for the positive aspects in whatever it is, and you give them the license to live as they choose, even if they are choosing it by default, not knowing. And you know that in all of it, that all is well. When you come to understand that there is only glory in death, or what you call death, there is not death, but that the reemergence into non-physical is the reemergence back into pure positive energy, then not only will you not regret the death of your little bird, or of your cat, or of whatever, but you will find yourself not feeling grief at the death of your physical partners. And that is what this is all about. That is what this poignancy is about, is that there is not death, there is only life. And just as you have this poignancy in your now from time to time, once you are fully consciously focused from non-physical, you will have it at all times. In other words, this, when you talk about Abraham not laughing, it gives a subtle statement that Abraham does not feel joy, when the reality of it is that we know not that which is other than joy. And so you say, well, then Abraham must live like I did with the green beans. It is very boring to the point that I can't stand it anymore. And we say, there is still contrast in all. Take your contrast on the positive side of the equation. In other words, feel your contrast between ecstasy and peace, between exhilaration that makes you bounce off the walls and satisfaction and contentment. You do not have to vacillate between that which feels wonderful and that which feels awful in order to know your contrast, you see. You're following? You're feeling complete?
Mm-hmm.
Good.